Introduction today, guys. I'm just gonna kind of get right into it. This is a little bit of a rant I've just had on my mind for a while, and it's I don't think gamers are the problem. Now, what do I mean by that? I've heard it said through a couple articles recently that gamers are pushing this sedentary lifestyle and this kind of just bum lifestyle, for lack of a better phrase. And I'm gonna be really honest with you. I don't buy it. I really don't buy it. And there's a reason I don't buy it. And if you can't tell, it's going to be a little bit more of a rant video. So if you're into that, just stick around. Because I'm going to get to my point, I promise. But to me, gamers are more well suited to tackle this cripplingly disorganized world more than any other group of hobbyists I can think of, more than trading card game players, more than RPG tabletop players, more than friggin' disc golfers. I'm giving myself friendly fire here. Just more than anyone, we're more suited for it. Now, why do I believe this? Why do I believe that we have all of this suiting for this natural world? Why do I feel like we've went through a metaphorical metamorphosis of a type that other people just don't understand? Well, I kind of write about it here in this first point, but it's that every story we go through and that every boss fight we finish, every failed attempt you make, it strengthens your resolve. It's pushing back. I have seen a guy stay up until 4 in the morning on Monster Hunter World and try 24 times and I believe 6 hours to beat Nergigante. And every time he would die, he'd just make this quick inhale and then kind of say the same thing over and over again. Here we go. Gonna try it again. And he did. And he was so satisfied with finishing it when he got there. He cried. And I swear this on my life. This is one of my close friends I still love to this day. He cried. And I think about that sometimes because this sedentary lifestyle that they supposedly claim that is being enthrust upon society by video games over and over, I don't freaking buy it. These stories have taught us that there is a sort of necessity to suffering. And I think that all of these stories have taught us one way or another that being relentless, continuing forward, keeping going is a message that's worth pushing. And I really believe there's no other hobby that pushes, maybe the gym. But other than that, there's really no other hobby that just pushes you to keep going. So I do have some examples for this. And I know there's a lot on screen here, but I will explain most, if not all of them, if you just give me a minute. I'm going to start at the top left, and I'm going to work my way, kind of like a book, left to right, and then down. So first, we have Jin Sakai, right here. For those of you who not played Ghost of Tsushima, Jin Sakai is the main character, and he is the son of a samurai lord who believes that honor and doing things the old way is the only way to beat the Mongol invasion of Japan. He was wrong. The Mongols did not fight fair. The Mongols did not fight with honor. In the words of Jin, honor died on the beach. Jin had to step outside of everything he was told what to do and figure out a new way to do it. Do it his way. Do it dirty. Do it mean. Just do it. Get it done. And Jin, just like our message, kept going. And eventually, he won. And he didn't just win. He smashed the Mongols. He embarrassed them. He beat them at their own game. Next up, we have Kratos. Now, this is an image of God of War 3 Kratos, but this is going to just pertain to the story of Kratos throughout the God of War saga as a whole. Kratos started with a massive ego and over time got humbled repeatedly again and again and again and again. We really start to see his more calm and reasonable arc after the events of God of War 3, where he attempts to kill himself and sacrifice himself at the end of the game in order to give the power back to the people. Now, once again, Kratos did eventually settle down. He tried to change, and he did. But the past always would come knocking for him. He tried, for those of you who have not read the comic strips, Kratos would throw the blades away, they would come back. And over and over. So Kratos just had to keep going, and he had to eventually make peace with what he had been, make peace with his past. And eventually, he did find peace in the events of God of War Ragnarok, and one of, if it is the conclusion to Kratos' story. I know we have God of War Laufey coming next year, and maybe some more after that. But I would not be disappointed if God of War Ragnarok Valhalla was the conclusion of Kratos' story, because I think the message it puts on young men, in particular, if any ladies watching this, I do apologize, but I do feel as though this message is a little bit targeted towards men, is you can always be better than what you are. You can keep going. All right. Next up, we have Firewatch. Firewatch is about a man named Henry, and Henry is fleeing from all of his problems, and I view Firewatch as much of a tale we can learn from as much as I view it as a warning tale. Henry is running from his wife, who has dementia, who is repeatedly forgetting everything over and over and over again. And it haunts him, frankly. It haunts Henry, and I think that the reason it haunts Henry is because he has no power to change it. And the reason I say that is a warning tale is because there is going to come a day, in every single one of our lives where something we cannot change is going to happen. Maybe that's the economy. Maybe it's the stock market crashing. Maybe you fill in your mind with whatever big thing could impact your life in a plethora of ways. Excuse me. And that thing is going to come and is going to rock you. And I don't mean like rock the boat. I mean like it's going to test you deeply. It's going to hurt. It's going to necessarily hurt. It has to hurt or it wouldn't mean anything. And I think Henry, at the end, even though we don't really know what happens after the end of the story, in my personal headcanon, Henry goes home to Julia and he keeps going. He keeps trying. But we'll never know. Next up, we have Talion from the Shadow of War and Shadow of Mordor duology. This is a really big one. Talion even is willing to sacrifice his own autonomy at one point for what is right, for what he has to do. For those of you who do not know, Talion was a ranger and was one night, his family was killed along with himself by the Black Hand of Sauron, and Talion was revived by the wraith of the elven ringmaker Celebrimbor. And Talion cuts a freaking warpath all the way to the Black Gate. And he's abandoned again by Celebrimbor. Massive story spoilers, I apologize, but if you haven't played it, I really don't know what you're doing. Talion, once again, is left in this exact scene of this image I have him on, where Celebrimbor leaves him behind. He revokes everything that him and Talion have been through together, and this is a story about betrayal and how we can keep going in spite of said betrayal. Talion is doomed unless he puts on what you see in his right hand right there, which is a ring of the Nazgul. It will slowly transform him into something he absolutely despises, but he is willing to do it and willing to fight against the evil using the evil there, because in his words, you can't really read them, they're kind of blurry because of how small I had to make the image. His fate is his own. It's his choice. And even though he didn't end up with what he wanted for a very long time, he kept going. Alright, next up here we have Yi from Nine Souls. Now, I am only about halfway through Nine Souls, maybe a little less to my knowledge, but oh my gosh, Yi was beaten down and, for reasons I haven't discovered yet, kicked out of the world he was used to by the Nine Souls. Yi actually for a while does find peace with what he is in, but then he decides to revolt. He says, you know what, no, things need to change, and I'm going to change them. So I really don't want to spoil the story for this, but I'll try to keep it brief. Yi pushes back against the system and goes on a, similar to Italian, a warpath. And even though everything is against him, he keeps going. He's an unstoppable force. There's nothing that can get in his way. He is challenged over and over again. He I'm going to leave it at that for right now, but all you need to know is he keeps going. Right here, May Borowski from A Night in the Woods. Quick disclaimer, I have only seen about half of this game. I will be playing it through the entirety for the first time on stream once we hit 1,000 subscribers, which we're only about 250 away, so if you're new here, please subscribe. May is a very traumatized young person who has severe mental disorders and is just trying her best to just keep going through all of it. Life has repeatedly beaten her down, and it is hard for her to stay connected to people while she slowly feels like she's losing her mind sometimes, but she keeps going. That's the big message here, is she keeps going. Joel. Now, I know a lot of people are frustrated with The Last of Us Part 2 and how his story unfortunately ended there, but I think the way Joel's story ended was the same way it began. Joel had a lot taken from him by the outbreak. His daughter, his brother for a while, his purpose for, I believe, 20 years between the intro of the game into where we find him at the beginning of the main game. We just know Joel was surviving. He was struggling. And he finds this girl, Ellie. And Ellie gives Joel kind of this new purpose in life. And a lot of people give hate on Joel for the end of the game, where he stops what could be a cure for humankind and protects Ellie. But Joel, through the whole game, we don't really know the exact time frame, but it's about a year. They trek across the decaying wasteland that was the United States, and they just kept it rolling. No matter what happened, no matter who got in their way, what got in their way, they always kept it going forward. And I think a lot of it is what he did end up pressing onto Ellie, was that this world, no matter how cruel and savage it can seem at times, is always worth living in. So keep going. Next up, The Midnight Walk. The Midnight Walk is this Tim Burton art-esque game about a world that has lost the flame. It has lost the light. It has lost its purpose. And there is one thing that brings it back, and is this funny little ash boy that you see here on the picture. And everyone wants a piece of it. Everyone wants a piece of the ash boy. But the ash boy just wants to keep lighting things back up. He has no regard for anything that is getting in his way or anything that could be stopping him. He continues. He keeps going. Next up, Celeste. Celeste is about a young... How do I want to put this? A young woman grappling really heavily with who she is, her personality and all that. And no matter how negative or self-disrespectful her thoughts get, how demeaning it can become to herself, she keeps going. She tries to make peace with those thoughts, and she really fights through it. And I think there is a lot to be learned from Celeste. I think that Celeste can teach a lot of people how to really grapple with who they are and who they want to be. Keep going. Next up, probably the biggest proprietor of the, quote, keep going moniker on this entire board, the Penitent One. The Penitent One has had probably the most hellish life out of anyone here. He is in constant agony, but due to a vow of penance and silence, he has to be constantly quiet. The Penitent One has so many things that I could make his own video about, but it's really, when it comes down to it, he has a sword called mea culpa, which roughly translates to my suffering or my guilt. And he doesn't just carry his guilt; he carries the guilt of the entire world he is in. Spoilers for the end of New Game Plus playthrough. And he just keeps going, no matter how terrifying the beast in front of him, how evil the god he is trying to punish is to him. No matter what happens, the Penitent One keeps going. People believe in him. People help him because they can see that he is carrying the weight of the literal world on his shoulders. This sword will grow into his hand for the more suffering of the people he carries. And he just, through both games, 1, 2, I've not played the second DLC that just came out a few weeks ago, but he keeps going, guys. He keeps it going. Last row, Arthur Morgan. I do not feel as though Arthur Morgan needs any introduction at this point. His story is so well known by the public and by the gaming community as a general, but I will briefly touch it. Arthur lived a very vicious and brutal life. He was a very bad man for a very long time. And that's where we actually meet Arthur at the beginning of Red Dead Redemption 2, is he is in this violent craze of constantly, if he can't get it one way, he can usually solve it through violence. We see that with the O'Driscoll in the shed. We see that with the man who he beats and eventually contracts tuberculosis from. We see that from everything Arthur does, but in the end, it's still not too late to change. He keeps going. He keeps trying to be the good man. He keeps trying to be the guy who makes it to the finish line, who helps the people who deserve it get out. Arthur is, in my opinion, what every young man should aspire to be. Changed and good. Capable but caring. Arthur is the absolute moniker and icon that, outside of, to me, Jesus Christ alone, young men should look for. Arthur, we miss you because you kept going. Next up, Deacon St. John. Deacon St. John is from what I believe to be one of the most underrated games of all time, which is Days Gone. Similar to Joel, but in a different vein, Deacon was separated from his wife Sarah and bears a lot of guilt for leaving her, because after that for several years Deacon does not know what happened to her. He does not know where she is. He doesn't know what happened to her. He is constantly plagued with past visions of her. He has severe PTSD, not only from his time in a biker club, but in his time in his time in the army. And Deacon is just trying to remain a decent person despite all that is happening to him in this world. And he's so relatable. I wish I could overstate this enough. Deacon is so relatable with his loneliness. We go through all of these relationships that Deacon has tried to kindle and fill this hole of his missing wife with, but just none of it is working out for him. And Deacon, through all of it, the thought that he might maybe find Sarah again just kept him going. Excuse me, I'm a little emotional. This story really has some veil on me. For the next one, we have Hyperlight Drifter. Excuse me. Hyperlight Drifter is about an unnamed character that we only really know as the Drifter, going through this world trying to... it's hard to explain. Really just beat these massive beings while dealing with his own downfall. I specifically chose this image because this was the, I believe, creative director putting a little piece of him into this game in his own battle with congenital heart disease. And the Drifter just coughs this blood up. And even though he's constantly in agony and suffering, the Drifter, he keeps going. He fights on and on and on. and he keeps going. Finally, from Dark Souls 1, we have Artorias. Now, not everyone is super akin to Dark Souls lore, and I am a little rusty, even though I did read the Abyssal Archive a little later last year. Forgive me if I get anything wrong. Those of you who know, Dark Souls lore is incredibly convoluted. But Artorias was one of, I believe, 4 knights dispatched to dispose of Manus. For those of you who aren't familiar with Dark Souls, I'll try to keep it simple. Manifestation of something called the Abyss. It's essentially endless darkness. And Artorias gives it everything he has until the very end. Even when we meet him, he keeps fighting back against the Abyss. He sacrificed himself and even slowly became corrupted. And Artorias just gave everything he had till the end. Artorias, you kept going. So, in conclusion, I really just want you all to know that people think gamers have no idea what it means to actually try to anything, but as I've proven, hopefully, through all of these characters, that couldn't be further from the truth. Gamers have experienced so much struggle and seen it through this different lens than a lot of people have. And honestly, just from personal experience, most of the people I have seen go through immense worldly struggles have all been gamers. Like, I think your guys' tolerance for just stupidity that the world can throw at you is so inconceivably high compared to what the modern media wants to paint you out to be. Just don't listen to it. You guys, what I'm asking you all today is simply 2 words, and that's keep going. Thank you guys for listening. This isn't my typical type of video at all, and I know it's not going to resonate with everybody. It could be seen as a little cringe maybe, but I frankly don't care. I really think this is something a lot of people needed to hear, and I really want to just talk about it. So if you enjoy that, and maybe you'll enjoy my regular content too, I mostly diagnose subscribers with a video game to-do list and talk about how philosophy and video games intertwine. We have a Discord. It has been slowly growing. I have seen more and more of you pop in over there. I will put it in the link below. I hope you guys stop by, maybe meet some new friends. I intend to start doing some community game nights, maybe some small giveaways for tournaments or something like that in the future if we get enough people. With all that being said, I had a huge hankering to make this video, and I really hope you guys enjoyed it. You have a great night. Goodbye.